Welcome to It's Good to Be Smart. I'm your host, Dr. Dave Mulder. I love to learn new things, and I hope you do too, because it's good to be smart. In this episode, we're tackling a weird question. What's the difference between bacteria and humans? Now you might think, well, that's easy. Bacteria are tiny and we're not. But the truth is, all living things share some surprising similarities. We'll also explore the major differences between bacteria, other microscopic life, and us humans. So let's dive in. First things first, what do we mean by living things? Life on Earth is incredibly diverse. From tiny bacteria swimming in a drop of water, to a human being swimming in a pool, to massive blue whales swimming in the ocean, organisms come in all shapes and sizes. Scientists categorize all the different forms of life into three major groups called the domains of life: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. These domains help us organize life based on how cells are built. But before we get into that, let's talk about what all living things have in common. No matter how big or small, all living things share some key characteristics. Here are a few of them. All organisms are made of cells. Every living thing is made up of one or more cells, which are the basic units of life. All organisms use energy. Living things need energy to grow, move, and function. Some get their energy from the sun through photosynthesis, while others consume food. All organisms grow and reproduce. All living things grow in size or complexity over time, and they reproduce to create new life. All organisms respond to their environment. Living things react to changes in their surroundings. A plant might turn towards sunlight, while an animal might run from danger. All organisms maintain homeostasis. This means keeping a stable internal environment. For example, humans sweat to cool down, and bacteria can regulate their internal chemistry to survive in different conditions. These are just a few of the common characteristics that all organisms share, but they are true for tiny bacteria, and they're true for you too. That means bacteria and humans actually have some things in common. But let's talk about what makes them different. One big difference is how their cells are built. Bacteria belong to a group called prokaryotes. That's a fancy word that means their cells are simple and don't have a nucleus. A nucleus is like a control center inside a cell where DNA is stored. The nucleus helps manage information for the cell and keeps things running efficiently. And since bacteria don't have one, their DNA just floats around inside the cell. Humans, on the other hand, are part of the eukarya domain. That means our cells are eukaryotic, which means they do have a nucleus. In fact, all plants, animals, fungi, and even tiny single-celled organisms called protists have eukaryotic cells. Another difference? Bacteria are usually unicellular, which means they're made of just one cell. That single cell does everything it needs to survive. Humans, on the other hand, are multicellular, meaning we're made of many different kinds of cells that work together to keep us healthy and alive. So, while bacteria and humans have some characteristics in common because they're both organisms, there are also a lot of things that are different between these two forms of life. But wait, there's another domain of life we haven't talked about yet: Archaea. Archaea are also prokaryotes, just like bacteria. But they aren't just like bacteria. They are a bit different. They often live in extreme places like boiling hot springs or super salty lakes or ocean vents where lava pours out into the deep seas. Scientists once thought archaea were just a type of bacteria, but they found that archaea are actually their own unique domain of life. Archaea have some unique features of their cell membranes, their cell parts, and their genetic makeup that makes them quite different from bacteria at the cellular level. They are a whole different domain of life, but they still share characteristics in common with all the other forms of life on this planet. Okay, those three domains one more time. Bacteria are simple, single-celled prokaryotes without a nucleus. Archaea are also single-celled prokaryotes, but they live in extreme places and have some unique differences from bacteria. And eukarya are complex, often multicellular organisms, and their cells have a nucleus. That's us humans, as well as a bunch of different kinds of single-celled creatures like amoebas and paramecium, and also all the different kinds of plants, fungus, and animals on Earth. Now, before we wrap up, here are some fantastic facts about the domains of life that might surprise you. Archaea can survive in places where no other life can, including super hot volcanoes and deep underground inside rocks. I hope you don't get too grossed out by this one. There are more bacteria living in your mouth than there are people living on Earth. In fact, scientists estimate that the number of bacterial cells in and on you is greater than the number of human cells that make up your body. Not all bacteria are harmful, though, and not all of them will make you sick. In fact, there are a lot of really helpful bacteria that live in harmony with your body. For example, without bacteria, we wouldn't be able to digest food properly. Some bacteria in your intestines help break down food and actually help keep us healthy. Some bacteria can glow in the dark. This is called bioluminescence, and it helps certain sea creatures attract prey or communicate. And there are tons of different kinds of eukaryotes. Every type of animal you can think of, all the plants, all the fungi, even some weird critters like slime molds. But scientists think there are even more different kinds of bacteria than there are types of eukaryotes. Talk about diversity of life. Okay, let's sum things up. Why does this discussion of the domains of life matter? Well, understanding the similarities and differences between living things helps us see how all life on Earth is connected. It also helps scientists understand diseases, discover new medicines, protect the environment, and even search for life beyond Earth. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Nice work leveling up your brain power today. Remember, smart isn't something you are, it's something we become as we're learning. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep getting smarter every day. It's Good to Be Smart is created and produced by me, Dr. Dave Mulder, with the support of the National Science Foundation through the Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program. Subscribe to this feed so you'll never miss an episode, and check out our home on the web, goodtobesmart.com. Until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and keep learning, because it's good to be smart.